Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Storyverse Legends. On my channel, the video I upload doesn't contain any AI content, any robotics, or any fake voices. So, without any wasting of time, let's go to the video.
6 months had passed since Captain Ethan Drake and his crew escaped the impossible. The world celebrated them as survivors of a mysterious maritime accident. Newspapers called it a miracle. Scientists dismissed their story as hallucinations caused by exhaustion and exposure. No one believed there had been a ship lost in time. No one believed there was a gate hidden within the fog, and no one believed in the keeper. Only Ethan, Sarah Collins, Jake Morales, and Marcus Reed knew the truth. They never spoke about it in public. Some memories were too terrible to relive. Yet one object refused to let the past remain buried. The brass compass. Captain William Blackwood's final gift. Ethan kept it locked inside a steel safe in his apartment overlooking the harbor. For 6 months, it remained completely still. Its needle never moved. Its glow never returned. Until one stormy night. Lightning flashed across the city. Rain battered the windows. At exactly 11:47 p.m., every light in Ethan's apartment flickered. The digital clock froze. 11:47. The same time every clock aboard the Ocean Phantom had stopped. A metallic click echoed from the safe. Ethan slowly turned. The safe door swung open by itself. The compass floated into the air. Its golden glow filled the room. The needle spun wildly before locking onto the east, toward the open sea. Then a voice whispered from nowhere, not loud, not threatening, just familiar. "Captain!" Ethan's blood ran cold. He knew that voice. "Captain Blackwood!" Silence, then another whisper. "The gate is opening again." The compass suddenly dropped to the floor. At that exact moment, Ethan's phone rang. It was Sarah. Her voice trembled. "Ethan, tell me your clock stopped too." He looked at the frozen display. "Yes." They all stopped at 11:47. Before Ethan could reply, another call came in. Jake. Then Marcus. The same thing had happened to them. Every clock had frozen. Every electronic device had malfunctioned. Every one of them had heard the whisper. Within an hour, the four reunited aboard the Aurora Star, now permanently docked at a secure naval research facility. Marcus placed the brass compass on the navigation table. Its glow had become brighter, much brighter. Then every monitor in the control room suddenly activated, without electricity, without power. A satellite image appeared on the main screen. At first, it showed an ordinary stretch of the North Atlantic. Then the image distorted. A thick circle of fog formed in the middle of the ocean, growing larger by the second. Sarah zoomed in. Something moved inside the mist. Not one object. Hundreds. Ships. Ancient sailing ships, World War II destroyers, modern cargo vessels, luxury cruise liners, fishing boats, submarines. Every ship that had mysteriously disappeared over the last 2 centuries was drifting inside the expanding fog. Marcus stared in disbelief. "It's collecting them!" Jake whispered, "The gate isn't just opening. It's feeding." Suddenly every monitor went black. One line of glowing text appeared. "Return what was taken." The words vanished. Then an emergency transmission interrupted every radio frequency on Earth. Every ship, every aircraft, every military base, everyone heard the same message. To those who escaped, the debt remains unpaid. The keeper is coming. Outside, thunder exploded across the harbor. The sea began to churn violently. Ships rocked against their moorings. Harbor alarms blared. People ran in panic as the water level suddenly dropped. Far out on the horizon, the ocean split apart. A colossal blue eye slowly rose above the waves, watching the coastline, watching Ethan. The keeper had crossed into the human world. And this time, it wasn't guarding the gate. It was hunting those who escaped it. The giant blue eye remained fixed on the shoreline. It did not blink. It did not move. It simply watched. Across the harbor, people screamed and ran for cover. Car alarms blared, fishing boats broke loose from their moorings, and massive waves slammed against the docks. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, The eye disappeared beneath the water. The sea became calm again. The silence that followed was even more frightening. The world takes notice. Within hours, news of the strange phenomenon spread across the globe. Governments denied seeing anything unusual. Scientists blamed a rare atmospheric illusion. But sailors told a different story. Thousands of ships reported the same impossible event. Every captain who looked toward the horizon had seen the same glowing eye. The world had witnessed the keeper, whether they believed it or not. A message from the past. Inside the secure naval research facility, Ethan and his crew studied satellite images. The strange fog in the North Atlantic was expanding, not quickly, slowly, relentlessly. It swallowed everything that entered it. Cargo ships disappeared, weather drones vanished, military submarines lost contact within seconds. Nothing returned. Marcus looked at the data. The fog is growing almost 1 kilometer every hour. Sarah's face turned pale. If it keeps expanding. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Within months, entire coastlines would disappear. An unexpected visitor. Just after midnight, the facility's security alarms activated. Not because someone had broken in, because someone had appeared inside. A lone man stood at the end of the corridor. He wore a long black coat soaked with seawater. His boots left wet footprints across the floor. Security guards rushed toward him. "Stop!" The stranger ignored them. The guards raised their weapons. Before they could fire, every light in the hallway exploded. Glass shattered. The guards were thrown backward by an invisible force. When the emergency lights came on, the mysterious man was still standing, completely unharmed. Ethan cautiously stepped forward. "Who are you?" The stranger slowly removed his hood. His hair was silver. His eyes glowed faintly blue. But what caught everyone's attention was the deep scar running across the left side of his face. "I've been searching for you, Captain Drake." "You know my name?" The man nodded. "I know all of you." Sarah stepped beside Ethan. "How?" The stranger looked at the brass compass resting on the table. "It told me where to find you." Everyone exchanged confused glances. "The compass?" Marcus asked. The man smiled. "It remembers every soul that has crossed the gate." Jake frowned. "Who are you?" The stranger stood silently for a moment. Then he answered. "My name is Adrian Voss. I was the last man to escape the gate. Before Captain William Blackwood." The room fell silent. Ethan stared at him in disbelief. "That's impossible. The Ocean Phantom disappeared 72 years ago." Adrian slowly nodded. "And I escaped. In 1912. "The impossible truth," Sarah's eyes widened. "That would make you over 100 years old." Adrian looked away. "I stopped counting." Marcus shook his head. "The gate doesn't just trap people. It changes them." Adrian nodded. "It exists outside time." He walked to the large map displayed on the wall. Using a marker, he drew a massive circle across the Atlantic Ocean. "This isn't a natural fog. It's the edge of another world." Ethan crossed his arms. "And the Keeper." Adrian's expression darkened. "The Keeper has never entered our reality before." "So why now?" Jake asked. Adrian looked directly at Ethan. "Because Captain Blackwood broke the oldest rule. He destroyed the Phantom ship. The ship wasn't just a prison. It was a lock." Everyone froze. Adrian continued. "When the Ocean Phantom exploded, the lock was broken. And now, the gate is opening from both sides. The fleet appears." Suddenly, every radar screen in the control room lit up. Hundreds of signals. No, thousands. Sarah zoomed in. Her hands began to shake. An endless fleet was emerging from the fog. Wooden pirate ships, ancient Roman warships, medieval Viking longboats, Spanish galleons, World War battleships, modern aircraft carriers, even futuristic-looking vessels unlike anything ever built on Earth. Every ship that had vanished throughout history was returning. But none of them were under human control. Ghostly blue lights glowed from every bridge, every mast, every deck. The fleet of the lost had awakened. Adrian whispered the words Ethan hoped he would never hear. "They're not coming back to go home. The first ship turned toward the nearest coastline, then another, then another. Within seconds, the entire ghost fleet began sailing toward the living world. As alarms echoed across the naval base, one final signal appeared on the radar. A single vessel, larger than all the others. Its outline slowly emerged from the center of the fog. Marcus stared at the screen in horror. "No!" Ethan's voice became barely a whisper. "It can't be!" Painted across the bow in glowing white letters were two familiar words. Ocean Phantom. The legendary ship had returned, but this time, someone else was standing on its bridge, a tall figure in a black captain's uniform, its face hidden beneath a shadowed hood. And in its hand, it held Captain Blackwood's missing sword. The control room fell silent. Every radar screen showed the same impossible image. The Ocean Phantom had returned, but it was no longer the rusted, broken vessel that Ethan remembered. Its hull looked newly restored, forged from black steel that shimmered like obsidian. Ancient symbols glowed along its sides, pulsing with an eerie blue light. Torn sails had been replaced by enormous dark sails that moved without wind. It looked less like a ship and more like a fortress from another world. Standing on its bridge was a lone figure, tall, motionless, its face hidden beneath a hood of living shadow. In one hand, it held Captain William Blackwood's ceremonial sword. In the other, a lantern burning with blue fire. The figure slowly raised the lantern. Every ghost ship in the fleet of the Lost stopped moving, perfectly, at the exact same moment. Jake whispered, "He's controlling them." Adrian Voss nodded. "Not controlling." He swallowed hard. "Commanding." The broadcast without warning, televisions, phones, computers, and radios across the world switched on. Every screen displayed the same image, the hooded captain standing aboard the Ocean Phantom. People watched from homes, airports, hospitals, and military command centers. The figure spoke. Its voice echoed unnaturally, as though thousands of people were speaking in perfect harmony. "For centuries, your world has taken what belongs to the sea. Now, the sea has come to reclaim its debt." The broadcast ended. Every electronic device shut down. Worldwide, satellites lost contact, navigation systems failed, power grids flickered, civilization entered chaos, a name long forgotten. Adrian stared at the dark screen. "I prayed I would never see him again." Ethan turned. "You know who that is?" Adrian closed his eyes. "His name was..." He hesitated. "Captain Lucian Graves." Sarah typed the name into the naval archives. Nothing, no records, no photographs, no history. "It doesn't exist," she said. Adrian wasn't surprised. It was erased. Marcus frowned. Why? Because governments believed forgetting him was safer than remembering. The first explorer. Adrian began telling a story that had been hidden for centuries. In 1683, Captain Lucian Graves sailed farther into the Atlantic than any explorer before him. He wasn't searching for land. He was searching for immortality. After years of chasing myths, Graves discovered an ancient chart carved into black stone. The map didn't lead to treasure. It led to the gate. Ignoring the warnings of his crew, Graves sailed through it. Only one sailor ever returned. That sailor spent the rest of his life repeating the same sentence. The sea chose a king. No one believed him. The records disappeared. History forgot. But the gate never did. The new King Ethan looked back at the Ocean Phantom. So, Graves became... Adrian finished the sentence. The Keeper's captain. No, Sarah corrected. The Keeper's general. Adrian nodded slowly. The Keeper doesn't command fleets. It commands worlds. And Lucian Graves is its voice. The compass changes. Suddenly, Blackwood's brass compass began spinning wildly on the table. The warm, golden glow faded. Its light turned deep blue. Cracks spread across its surface. Then a hidden compartment inside the compass clicked open. A tiny, folded piece of paper slipped onto the table. Ethan carefully unfolded it. The paper was yellow with age, Captain William Blackwood's handwriting covered every inch. It wasn't a journal entry, it was a letter. Blackwood's final letter. If you are reading this, then I have failed. Destroying the Ocean Phantom was never enough. The ship was only the prison. The true enemy wears the crown of the tide. His name is Lucian Graves. Do not fight him at sea. That is where he is strongest. Find the place where the first gate was born. There lies the only weapon capable of ending the Keeper forever. Trust the compass. Trust Adrian. And whatever happens, do not let the Keeper enter the seventh tide. The letter ended there. No explanation, no signature, only a strange symbol. A circle surrounding 7 waves. The seventh tide. Marcus looked puzzled. What is the seventh tide? Adrian's face lost all color. No. Sarah looked at him. You know what it means? He nodded. I was hoping Blackwood never learned about it. Ethan stepped closer. Tell us. Adrian stared toward the ocean. There are 6 tides that belong to our world. The 7th belongs to the gate. When the 7th tide rises, the boundary between realities disappears. Jake whispered. Meaning? Adrian answered quietly. The Keeper won't need the gate anymore. It will be free. The King's arrival. Outside the research facility, warning sirens suddenly wailed. The ocean began glowing blue. The tide receded nearly 2 kilometers, exposing the seabed. Ships tilted onto the wet sand, fish flopped helplessly, people ran in panic. Then, the water returned, not as a wave, as a wall. A towering tsunami stretched across the horizon, illuminated by ghostly blue light. At its center sailed the Ocean Phantom. Captain Lucian Graves stood proudly at the bow. He slowly pointed his sword toward the city. The fleet of the Lost followed behind him in perfect formation. Adrian whispered one final sentence. The invasion has begun. The blue wall of water towered over the coastline. It wasn't an ordinary tsunami. The wave held its shape like a solid wall, frozen in time. Inside it floated ghost ships from every century. Roman triremes, Viking longships, pirate galleons, ironclads, destroyers, submarines, and towering aircraft carriers. Their ghostly blue lanterns glowed through the water like thousands of watchful eyes. At the center sailed the Ocean Phantom. Captain Lucian Graves stood at its bow, his black cloak whipping in a wind no one else could feel. He slowly lowered his sword. The impossible wave began to move. The City Fall's silent emergency sirens screamed across the harbor. Military helicopters rose into the sky, fighter jets streaked overhead. Naval destroyers raced toward the approaching fleet. News helicopters broadcast the terrifying scene live to millions around the world. Then, every engine stopped. The helicopters froze in mid-air for a heartbeat before gliding helplessly into the sea. The destroyers lost all power. Their weapon systems shut down. Even the fighter jets went silent, forced to turn away before reaching the ghostly wall. Marcus stared at the monitoring equipment. It's not just attacking. It's shutting down technology. Adrian nodded. The closer the 7th tide comes, the weaker our world becomes. A door hidden for centuries. The brass compass suddenly pulsed with golden light. Unlike the blue glow of the Keeper, this light felt warm, alive. The needle spun once, twice, then pointed southwest, toward a lonely island in the middle of the Atlantic. An island so small that most maps ignored it. Adrian recognized it immediately. No! Sarah looked at him. You've been there. He nodded. Once. A lifetime ago. Ethan stepped closer. What's on the island? Adrian answered quietly. The first lighthouse. The first lighthouse centuries, before any modern nation existed. Sailors had spoken of a lighthouse that guided lost ships home. Unlike ordinary lighthouses, it had no keeper, no fire, no oil. Its light came from a crystal older than human civilization. Legends claimed the crystal had been placed there by people who understood the gate long before recorded history. They built the lighthouse for one purpose, to keep the gate closed. But over the centuries, storms, wars, and fear erased its location from history. Only one object still remembered the way: Captain Blackwood's compass. The race begins. Within an hour, Ethan's team boarded the Aurora Star, repaired and upgraded after their first encounter with the Phantom ship. As the engines roared to life, Sarah looked back toward the coast. The blue tsunami had stopped just offshore. It wasn't attacking. Not yet. Lucian Graves was waiting, watching, almost as if he wanted Ethan to make the first move. Jake frowned. Why isn't he destroying the city? Adrian looked toward the distant fleet. Because he doesn't need to. He knows where we're going. The hunter in the fog. As the Aurora Star crossed the open Atlantic, a thick fog surrounded the ship once again. The same cold silence, the same unnatural stillness. Ethan gripped the glowing compass. We're not alone. Something enormous moved beneath the water. A dark shadow matched the ship's speed. Then another, then another. 3 glowing blue eyes opened beneath the surface. Not one keeper. 3. Marcus stepped back from the railing. I thought there was only one! Adrian's expression darkened. There was. The sea erupted. 3 colossal, serpent-like creatures burst from the depths, each wrapped in chains of glowing blue light. Their eyes burned like stars, and their voices echoed inside the crew's minds instead of their ears. Turn back! The Aurora Star shook violently. One creature slammed its tail against the water, creating a wave that nearly capsized the ship. Jake fought the wheel with all his strength. We can't outrun them! Ethan looked at the compass. Its golden light grew brighter. Then a narrow path opened through the fog, stretching straight ahead. The lighthouse is showing us the way, Sarah shouted. Jake steered onto the glowing path. The sea monsters lunged after them. But each time they reached the edge of the golden light, they recoiled as though burned by an invisible barrier. They could chase, but they could not cross. The island that shouldn't exist. Hours later, the fog began to thin. A lonely island emerged from the mist. Steep black cliffs rose from the sea, crowned by an ancient stone lighthouse that reached toward the clouds. It looked abandoned, yet its lantern room shone with a soft golden light. No ships surrounded it, no birds circled above, no waves touched its shore. The ocean around the island was perfectly still. As the Aurora Star approached, the brass compass stopped glowing. Its needle pointed directly at the lighthouse. Then, it cracked completely in half. A hidden metal key fell onto the deck. Etched into the key were the same 7 wave symbols from Blackwood's letter. Adrian picked it up with trembling hands. The key, Sarah frowned. To what? Before Adrian could answer, the lighthouse door slowly opened by itself. A warm beam of golden light spilled onto the shore, and a calm, ancient voice echoed across the island. Welcome, Guardians of the Sea. Ethan exchanged a wary glance with his crew. They had come searching for a weapon. Instead, it seemed the lighthouse had been waiting for them all along. The golden light, pouring from the ancient lighthouse, illuminated the shoreline like the rising sun. Captain Ethan Drake, Sarah Collins, Jake Morales, Marcus Reed, and Adrian Voss stepped onto the island in complete silence. The moment their feet touched the black sand, the storm surrounding the island vanished, the wind stopped, the waves froze. Time itself seemed to slow. Behind them, the Aurora Star floated motionless, as though anchored by an invisible force. Only the lighthouse remained alive. Its warm light pulsed like the heartbeat of the island. The last lightkeeper. The heavy wooden door creaked open. Inside stood an old man wearing white robes, stitched with silver thread. His long white beard reached his waist, but his bright amber eyes looked young. He leaned on a staff, carved from a single piece of crystal. He smiled gently. I have waited a very long time. Ethan stepped forward. Who are you? The old man bowed. I am Elias, the final lightkeeper. Adrian froze. I thought the order was extinct. Elias nodded sadly. It is. I am the last. The Hall of Memories. Elias led them up the spiral staircase. The walls were covered with glowing murals. As the group passed each one, the images came alive. They saw the birth of the oceans, the first ships built by humanity, the rise and fall of forgotten civilizations. Finally, they reached the oldest mural of all. It showed 7 towering figures standing around a sea of stars. Each carried a crystal lantern, each wore a crown of light. Elias raised his staff. They were the first guardians. They built the gate. Sarah looked confused. I thought the gate was evil. It wasn't, Elias replied. It was a prison. The room fell silent. A prison for what? Marcus asked. Elias looked toward the sea. For the Keeper. The truth about the Keeper. Thousands of years ago, before human history began, the Keeper had not been a monster. It had been the greatest guardian of the oceans, created to protect the balance between worlds. But as centuries passed, it grew lonely. It watched civilizations rise and fall while it remained trapped between realities. Its loneliness turned into grief. Its grief became anger, and its anger transformed it into something terrible. To stop it, the first guardians built the gate. The Keeper was imprisoned beyond it. Lucien Graves had not created the evil. He had simply become its servant. He promised the Keeper freedom, Elias said. In return, he was promised eternal life. The heart of the lighthouse. At the top of the tower stood a massive crystal suspended in the air. Golden light flowed through it like liquid sunlight. It was beautiful. But deep inside the crystal, tiny blue cracks had begun to spread. The seal is failing, Elias whispered. The 7th tide has already begun. He handed Ethan the crystal key that had fallen from Blackwood's compass. It fits only 1 lock. Ethan inserted the key into the base of the crystal. The lighthouse trembled. A hidden chamber slowly opened beneath the floor. Inside rested an ancient sword forged entirely from crystal and silver. Its blade glowed brighter than the sun. Elias knelt before it. The Tidebreaker. The first weapon ever created. It cannot kill. It can only restore. Ethan picked up the sword. The blade felt warm, as if it recognized him. The final battle. A deafening horn echoed across the ocean. The Keeper had arrived. The fleet of the Lost surrounded the island. Thousands of ghost ships formed a perfect circle around the lighthouse. At their center sailed the Ocean Phantom. Lucien Graves stepped ashore, his black sword dragging across the stones. Behind him, the sea rose into the shape of the Keeper. Its countless blue eyes filled the sky. Lucien smiled. You are too late. The Keeper roared. The 7th tide crashed toward the island. Ethan raised the Tidebreaker. The blade released a pillar of golden light that pierced the clouds. The Keeper attacked. Tentacles of living water swept across the island. Ghost ships fired blazing blue cannonballs. The lighthouse shook violently. Jake and Marcus fought to keep the crystal protected, while Sarah activated ancient mechanisms hidden inside the tower. Adrian confronted Lucien Graves. The 2 captains crossed swords beneath the lighthouse. Blue fire met golden light. Lucien laughed. You cannot defeat eternity. Adrian lowered his blade. No. But I can end your chains. Lucien hesitated. For the first time in centuries, doubt crossed his face. Ethan saw his chance. He drove the Tidebreaker into the ground. The crystal atop the lighthouse exploded with brilliant golden light. The light raced across the ocean, passing through every ghost ship. One by one, the blue flames disappeared. The sailors regained their human faces. Smiles replaced empty stares. They saluted before fading peacefully into the morning sky. Finally, the light reached the Keeper. The giant creature let out one final roar, not of rage, but of sorrow. Its countless eyes closed. Its monstrous form dissolved into millions of glowing stars that drifted gently across the sea. The ocean became calm, for the first time in thousands of years. The Keeper was free, not from its prison, from its pain. Lucien Graves fell to his knees. His black armor crumbled into dust. He looked at Ethan with grateful eyes. Thank you. Those were his final words before he vanished with the wind. A new dawn. The ghost fleet disappeared. The fog lifted. The gate closed forever. The lighthouse's crystal became clear once again, shining peacefully over the Atlantic. Elias smiled at Ethan. The sea will always need guardians. He placed a small silver compass into Ethan's hand. Unlike Blackwood's compass, this one glowed with a gentle golden light. It will not lead you to danger. It will lead you to those who need hope. As the first rays of sunrise spread across the ocean, the old lightkeeper faded into light, his duty finally complete. Ethan, Sarah, Jake, Marcus, and Adrian sailed home aboard the Aurora Star, carrying the knowledge that some mysteries were never meant to be owned, only protected. Years later, sailors would once again tell stories of a mysterious golden lighthouse that appeared during the fiercest storms, guiding lost ships safely back to shore. Most dismissed it as another sea legend, but every captain who followed its light reached home. And somewhere beyond the horizon, where the sea met the sky, a faint golden beacon continued to shine. Not as a warning, but as a promise. The end.
Welcome back, friends. I hope you watched the whole video and enjoyed a lot. Please show your love and support. For more videos, like, share, comment, subscribe and hit the bell icon button. Thank you.